in generosity, because that is such a important part of our practice that sometimes we forget, because I think here in the West, in our practice, we haven't really fully learned how to be generous with ourselves. We kind of grow up feeling kind of a lack of nurturing for many of us. And that part of what drives us here, I think, to the Buddhist practice is that wanting, that longing for that connection with Mother Earth, you know. And it's often, also I think, is an often neglected way that we really connect with others and the world itself is through our breath, you know. So I thought what I could do, I started studying many years ago at the San Francisco Zen Center, and the founder there was Suzuki Roshi, and he had a short little chapter on breathing in his classic book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. So I'll just read a paragraph here. When we practice Zazen, our mind always follows our breathing. When we inhale, the air comes into the inner world. When we exhale, the air goes out into the outer world. The inner world is limitless, and the outer world is also limitless. We say inner world or outer world, but actually there's only just one whole world. In this limitless world, our throat is like a swinging door. The air comes in and goes out like someone passing through a swinging door. If you think I breathe, the I is extra. There is no you to say I. What we call I is just a swinging door which moves when we inhale and when we exhale. It just moves, that is all. When your mind is pure and calm enough to follow this movement, there is no thing. There's nothing in the sense of no thing, no separate thing. There's no I, no world, no body, no mind, just a swinging door. And I think that kind of ties in with what you were saying, Judith, when the breath is our only, in the middle of that poem, our meditation there was saying that a feeling of breathing the world and feeling that your breath is all there is. So you could also just substitute the word breathing for the swinging door, but the swinging door is a good image to give us a sense of how there's that openness and connection with the inner world and outer world. And even the thought, eventually, even the thought of a connection between the inner world and outer world goes away, and there's just us present. And so that's what all the great mystics are telling us. That's our real nature. That's our essence. That's what we're made of. That's our actual substance, the world. And so just that sense of breathing the world, there's a real sense of tranquility that comes over us when we realize that the only separation there is what we construct with our thinking mind. So, I don't know, a kind of a new way of me for thinking about thinking is think of thoughts as shadows, you know, because shadows are just a reflection. They're there and they follow us around when the sun's out, but they don't have any power. You know, shadow is just a reflection. It's just there. It doesn't have any power to do anything except express itself as a shadow. But somehow we're born into this world, and it's part of our natural condition is that we're easily conditioned to be afraid of shadows if they're menacing enough in their appearance or whatever, you know. But they're all just shadows. And so that's what Tai is telling us when he says that reality is not subject to notions of birth and death. And the Buddha's deepest teaching to us, he says, is that we ourselves are not subject to birth and death. The identity of the true self, the big self, the limitless, timeless self is not subject to birth and death. So I was thinking of a conversation that another teacher I like, Nisargadatta, had with his one of his students. And so the student asks him, does the inner teacher or the guru, the inner guru inside, is he the teacher for us? And Nisargadatta says, the teacher, your real teacher, which is the inner teacher, the Buddha mind or presence itself, infinite consciousness, or God, or whatever you want to call it, that grants the conviction that you are the timeless, changeless, reality consciousness love within and beyond all appearances. And then the student says, but a conviction is not enough. There must be certainty. And instead of going into some philosophical thing about, oh no, there's no certainty or whatever, Nisargadatta knows where this guy's at, and he says, you're right. But in this case, certainty takes the shape of courage. And in describing his own state, which he often does, and I'm not saying this isn't my state yet, but I'm getting there. I'm on the way. And we're all on the way, by the way, so I'm not any farther on the way, but I can clearly see this is where we're headed. He says, fear, in my experience, fear ceases, absolutely. The state of fearlessness is so unmistakably new, yet deeply felt as one's own that it can't be denied. It's like loving one's own child, so who can doubt that? So this little conversation was inspiring to me because I think Thich Nhat Hanh really embodies that fearlessness. And he's very tranquil about it, and he teaches us how to be kind to our distractions and our fears. Because when we learn to train ourselves to cultivate the freedom to explore and welcome the mind that experiences suffering, then we become more tranquil. Fear ceases absolutely when the boundary between the inner world and outer world is really clearly seen and embodied to be not there. It just isn't there. There is no container. There is no separation there. So that's a hard thing to fathom, and we can't really believe it, but we can more deeply and deeply surrender to that and make our distractions an offering. So kindness and patience, generosity towards our clinging and our patterns of fear and desire that we cling to. It is happening. Yes, go ahead.
I heard, just along these lines, I heard Joanna Macy talking about the way Thich used to walk into a room with so much power and so much humility. But he didn't care what other people thought about him at all. That was all part of his aura that he knew. And so I would interpret courage as confidence. I got that from my first Zen teacher, Genro Lee Milton, and also from Thich. So the initial teaching was walk into the Zendo with great confidence. Don't pussyfoot around your mat. Sit down.
Yeah.
Do it, and that kind of confidence is what Thich had always, always, always. And she described it beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
So courage, confidence. What's the other word?
Yeah, that's very true. And Suzuki Roshi also, who I read about, the swinging door, he also stressed very strongly many times in his teaching that we're trying to learn to cultivate the freedom to really embody that confidence in our true nature. Yeah. And but on the other side of that, we want to remember that most of us aren't there, including me. So courage is not about denying fear. It's not a state absence of fear. And until you're Tai or Suzuki Roshi, it's not about the absence of fear. It's about the courage to face it and be mindful of it and to welcome it and to make it an offering in itself, just like we make our practice an offering to others. Yeah. So we got lots of time to discuss it all.
Roger, when I think of I think of welcoming arms of the universe, the welcome. I always think of that. That is how you come into.
Oh yeah, well that's good to hear. But what Tai would say, he would say, someone would say to Reb Anderson, because he would come in that way too, and he has all that power, like he used to be but he still is like a rock, but he's a real tranquil and compassionate rock now, but he's still a rock, like this stability. And someone asked him, do you feel the power you have? Because like a certain woman addressed him and said, do you feel all this power? Because she was like kind of struck by that power. And he goes, yes, I feel it. I feel the power, but it's not my power. And so there's very few teachers that don't feel it's their power, that really don't try to own it in some way. So maybe we'll get there. At some point, we'll all get there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, dear friends. Adrian, I'm so glad that you're sitting up right now. After everything you've been through, and I'm really glad to see you.
Mama bowing in. Oh my goodness, this is such a rich conversation, hearing. It just has me so full, and somehow thinking about every part of the universe at one time like that sort of takes away my fear, because it just feels all the same. It puts it all into a context that everything is the same in some way. And also I'm just remembering Tai at Magnolia Grove. Just remembering being with him. And one particular time, it was, we would sit outside because it was so hot and because there were 1,500 people inside. Oh, and seeing him walk from what they called his little hut into the meditation room, he had to pass maybe 20 of us, maybe. And he would stop and he would look into everybody's eyes that was sitting there. With all of those people waiting, he just stopped and gave us his attention. And it was such a gift. And just to feel his calmness all the time, his confidence, his calmness. And one time, somebody stopped him before he went in. They wanted to meet him personally. I don't know, they had done something for him. And he just stopped and chatted with them for a few minutes. It was so amazing to see that. It was just like going in to address, 1,500 people, and he was fine. There was no change. He was just who he was all the time. There's so much to enjoy about both of you. What a combination. Oh my goodness, you are both so awesome. Together, I just feel such gratitude for your teaching every time you do together. Bowing out.
You have 13 minutes. Come on, you reluctant sharers. Come on, come on, come on.
I could read something really short to kind of complement what Norma had said about the power of enlightened activity is the conversation between aspiring bodhisattvas. So in chapter 16, this is Reb Anderson, in chapter 16 of the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha says, I am always thinking. The Buddha is thinking, how may I lead all living beings to enter the unexcelled path and quickly to perfect the Buddha body? This discursive thought is always present in Buddha's deep tranquility without disturbing it. Buddhas may think, may all beings be happy and may all beings quickly enter the Buddha way, but they don't grasp those thoughts. They calmly offer them as gifts. And Dogen taught the thought of bodhicitta, which is the spirit of inquiry of the way-seeking mind. It's present in the mind of bodhisattvas from its first arising to its final realization in Buddhahood. In this way, there is thinking from the beginning to the end of the path. Mature bodhisattvas are always thinking of their vow, but they do not grasp it. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but I mean, the main thing I wanted to say is, it's maybe we don't always want to comment on what's going on with us, but it's part of enlightened activity, which is more powerful than practicing by yourself. So Judith and I don't know how great we are, but we're better together than we would be by ourselves, that's for sure. So, and asking questions also is a big part of the teaching. So it's fine to just ask questions if you're not sure about something, or if you're kind of like, well, that sounds good, and it doesn't have to be always that, wow, what you said really made me feel great. It could also be it raises questions, or it felt painful, or whatever, So that's another way to look at it. Yeah.
What you uncomfortable?
Yeah, and then sometimes we just want to be quiet too. That's fine too.
Hi, Deborah.
So I would say that even right now in this moment talking, I can feel my heart racing. Because I find this whole concept of extinction event is what I would call it. But I find myself trying to accept. Did any Buddhist teachers teach during a potential extinction event, and is it even real? And this idea of, okay, I could manage my own fear and my own swinging door, and that most incredible line of the scent of the violet crushed underfoot. Accidentally, it's presumed. But then there's everyone else around me. And my son, the people that I love. And so for me, this picture of living with the inevitable catastrophe of the system, the earth, the sanctuary of the forest, the sanctuary of my practice, as that read a few years ago and so forth, it seems to have been shattered in my life because of this new conception of what's happening on the earth that this really truly brought up for me. Being with catastrophe. So my question is, if I manage me, okay, and what about everybody else around me? It breaks me.
I couldn't hear everything Deborah was saying. I wonder if someone could put it in a nutshell for me, please. I got that the meditation brought up some things.
Well, about extinction, right,
So
Deborah?
uncomfortable things.
It sounds like Deborah was talking about the reality of extinction, and everything, you know, like you did mention in the meditation about how everything is burning and everything is impermanent. And
what if I could recap
yeah,
what I said? What do we do with the current state of the environment for ourselves, as well as all those around us? The duties of a bodhisattva. What is to be done with the fear?
With the fear. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was grading this morning. I'm familiar with that book. Is anybody familiar with it?
Say it again.
Braiding wheatgrass. Let me hang on. I'm going to get it.
Yeah. Well, Deborah, when you said, what do we do with the current state of affairs? The word current, I'm kind of into, at times I go into this, the current of the life force, you know, that's coming through us. It's like, be brave enough to just dive into the current, you know. It's already saturating you completely. It's already saturating us completely. We're already completely it. And I know that's hard to believe, and I don't believe it, but I feel it more and more. And it's like, so we react to it. I mean, it's saturating us and it's moving us. And, you know, we enter the practice thinking that we approach this radiance, this presence that's unfathomable, timeless, you know, spaceless. We think that we're approaching it, but actually what's really happening is that it's drawing us in more and more. It's drawing us in. And our role is to be willing to be drawn in, or be willing to rest, become tranquil, and be taken by it, you know. And we can't control what's going to happen and what the results are going to be of that. But at least for me and for people that have been doing it longer than I have and are better, deeper teachers, it seems that way, will say that it becomes that conviction that Nisargadatta was talking about starts to happen. And it's like, it's that, you know, I mean, we can't control the outcome any more than we can control the movement of the galaxies, but we can offer ourselves, and that's not a small thing. Offering ourselves completely, wholeheartedly, is to be present to the wholeness that we are, and offer that.
So this morning, I was reading Joanna May talking about the end of many species, and I had a visceral response. I felt my body get heavy, like it weighed 1 million pounds. And that was the feeling that gave me, the feeling of losing all these species. And both Joanna Macy and the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, who is Robin Kimmerer, offer gratitude as a way out. And I'm just going to read one paragraph here, okay? I remind them that the gift of tobacco is not a material one, but a spiritual gift, a means of conveying our highest regard. I've asked some elders about this. This is in the Native American tradition. I've asked some elders about this over the years and heard a range of answers. One man said that gratitude is our only responsibility. He cautioned against the arrogance of thinking we have the capacity to give back to Mother Earth anything approaching what she gives us. I honor the humility inherent in that perspective, and yet it seems to me humans have gifts in addition to gratitude that we might offer in return. The philosophy of reciprocity is beautiful in the abstract, but the practical is harder. But you see, that's the breath is a symbol for that reciprocity, and it's how all life goes on. There's no life without reciprocity. So I've heard as one of her solutions to the problem for the people who want to do something about it is gratitude. I've heard Joanna Macy say that. And she's mentioning it again in here, and that's why I brought it in. This is a beautiful book, of Braiding Sweetgrass, which I recommend to everybody because you can just pick it up anywhere and read something that's meaningful. It's chock full of meaning and good teaching, based in the Native American way. We still have 6 minutes. Oh,
Bowing in. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Judith, for that meditation, and thank you, Roger, for your talk on it. And it's great to see everyone here. I miss all your faces. So that meditation was slightly difficult for me, but mainly because of something that I often, at least recently, kind of encounter with meditations that have a lot of imagery and visualization kind of packed into it, is that it doesn't feel tangible to me, and it feels very conceptual, and I can't connect with it in the same way that I used to, because it doesn't feel here. Like if I'm thinking about what water buffaloes look like or something like that, or it's not here. So, but as the meditation progressed, I was feeling this very strong sensation in my heart. It's like a really piercing feeling of compassion was really coming through. For this idea that we have to get somewhere to feel the reality of what different teachers are emulating. I like what Roger was saying about power, with that one teacher saying that the power wasn't his. And I feel that that's something that I can connect with in my experience, because like when I feel a certain resonance with how some people are presenting, or just the vibe that I'm getting from them, I feel like it's reflecting something already inherent in myself that I just need to explore more. It's like a window doesn't need to do something to be a window. Maybe there's just some dirt you gotta wash off it, and maybe see that it's the window through that. But the piece that Thai emulates, I feel is already here, and yeah, it's hard to, I think, put into words exactly what I'm feeling and trying to articulate. But for me, I feel like there's a very the only barrier between us and freedom is the belief that we're not already free.
Mm.
I think that sentence really captured what I was feeling. But trying to pay attention more to the compassion that points towards, rather than the, I guess, inherent frustration that can bring up when it, like, in a helping way, like wanting people to recognize that, to really feel, yeah. I hope that was coherent.
I thought it was very coherent, yeah, because we need to express that. That's where the courage comes in, because even if we're always going to kind of doubt that statement, until we're able to really let all the feelings of fear and conditioning inside, even though that's not really real for most of us, that's really there. But that's the question. You really put the nail to the head, hit the nail on the head about it. The only thing limiting us is the belief that we're not already free. That's true.
Yeah, I think we all understand when you say that freedom is already here. Freedom exists. But I guess our life mission might be to melt into that peace, to melt into that freedom, to stop resisting it.
Melt
sorry.
So to melt the root of our fear.
Yes, thank you, Roger. Perfect.
Yeah.
Melt the root of our fear.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for being here today so much. I'm really glad to be home with you. This is for you, Norma. Norma, you start doing this, right? Do you have a bell there? Norma, do you have a bell? You have a bell, Norma?
I have a bell.
All right, you do this for us, please. Sharing of the whatever, radiance, merit, however you want to do it.
Okay. May the merit of this practice benefit all beings and bring peace.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome home, Judith.